Hello, thank you for tuning in to this telecast. This is the Diaspora Panel, the voice of the diaspora. I want to say, first of all, Happy New Year to all our viewers. We wish you all your heart's desires this year, and we pray that everything that you put your hands on this year will excel. Today is the first day of the year. And I have with me Mr. Lawal, who is based in Canada. Mr. Lawal, you are welcome to today's meeting.
Thank you for having me.
And my name, as always, is still the same, Dejiolaya, and I'm based in Ireland. Now, if you're one of our subscribers and you have not yet subscribed, or if you're one of our viewers and you have not subscribed yet, please hit that button now. It is free of charge, so that anytime we do a new video, you're one of the first people to hear about it. And if you have any news for us or any advice to give us, please send your emails to info@diasporapanel.com. So what is the outlook for 2024? What are the expectations of Nigeria for 2024? What are the things that Nigerians are expecting to take place in 2024? This is what we want to discuss today. And this is what I'll be discussing with Mr. Lawal. I see this year, 2024, as a decisive year for Nigeria. It's a year of break or succeed. If Nigeria does not take off this year, if it is business as usual, then we can kiss Nigeria goodbye. So what are the expectations of Nigeria? What are we expecting to happen in Nigeria? So, Mr. Lawal, I'm going to start firing the question. So the first thing I want to ask you is, I know that a lot of Nigerians, the first thing we are thinking about is the cost of fuel. The last 7 months, we saw the cost of fuel go from, I think, about 200 Naira to now about 600 Naira. And that's because of the removal of the subsidy. Although, yeah, we all hear about all the reasons why the fuel subsidy have to go. We all agree this is, it's not doing what it was supposed to be doing. Some people, a few cabal, they're just there, siphoning this money. So we all agree, yes, this is a good decision. But this year, 2024, after several months of President Tinubu's being in charge, should Nigeria be expecting for the fuel price to go a little bit down? And should Nigeria be expecting all the refineries, the one in Warri, the one in Port Harcourt, the one in Kaduna, the Dangote refinery, and every other refinery to start working, at full throttle, so that we know that we are no longer buying refined petroleum products? So that will at least save us a lot of, foreign exchange. So, Shupo, what is your expectation when you look at the oil sector? What are you expecting that will happen?
Thank you very much for having me today. And to all our viewers, just want to say again, Happy New Year. So to jump very quickly in, I think a reasonable target will be to have all local refineries in Nigeria operating either at or at the minimum near their capacity. Be a reasonable explanation. Whether all of them producing at capacity will meet the local demand is a question to be asked, but at the minimum, it will alleviate the current challenges, with respect to, the fuel price. That has a significant impact on many industries, getting people to work and ensuring that at least the local economy take off. So it will be important to see tremendous movement in this area in 2024, and not just the normal business as usual rhetoric of we will, we will, we will. I think in Nigeria, there are, if I counted, there are probably about 10 in total refineries, even including modular refineries. I think you are muted. So it would be a reasonable expectation that at the minimum, all 4 government refineries, Port Harcourt, Warri, Kaduna, all brought online, are now operating at the minimum, if not at full capacity, at least at near full capacity. No, I think you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, so if reasonably our expectation is that these refineries will all bounce back, we all start working, what do we expect to happen? How do we expect that? What is our expectation? How will this affect the economy? What's our expectation? What should
Right. I think the important thing that we need to understand is that petrol, which is one of the derivatives, from the refined products, is just one of the many products that are usually obtained from refining of crude oil. There are a lot of other things. There's diesel, aviation fuel, and a lot of other petrochemical products that are derived from processing and refining these products. So I think government can make up revenue from a lot of the other derivatives by even making petrol, which is one of it, a lot more affordable to Nigerians. Making it a lot more affordable to Nigerians will actually stimulate the local economy. In the whole process as well, there are a lot of other support industries that will draw revenue from services provided to that particular industry. So it has an overall net positive effect of stimulating the local economy and putting people to work. I think beyond 2024, if the refineries can operate at full capacity, government should even look further to maybe expanding their capacity, or maybe even bringing in more private investments to expand refining activities, even to a point where Nigeria can actually begin to export refined products. That is what will place Nigeria and the Nigerian economy at the better end of the value chain, not selling its raw materials, but providing more value by actually selling more refined products.
Right. Okay. So another issue which has caused a lot of havoc in the last few months is the issue of the currency. The Nigerian currency, went from about 400 and something. It's now about 1,200 thereabout. So should Nigerians expect the currency, to come down from its higher horse, or do you think Nigerian currency will become like that of Zimbabwe? What is your expectation? What should Nigeria be expecting as regards our currency, the Naira?
So I listened to President Tinubu's address, in which he highlighted that they've started, and I'm hoping will continue to tackle the issue of how the foreign exchange was kind of the framework was put in the hands of a few people. I think that deregulation is important, and I think we're moving in the right direction. I think even from the recent numbers that have been released, that non-oil exports have actually increased, I think, by about the 67% was the number that was given. Look, personally, I'm not an economist, but I think I know enough about the forces of demand and supply to understand exactly the effect that that could have on the exchange rate. I think, one of the advantages of refining crude oil locally is that it will reduce our dependence on foreign exchange to import refined products, which is quite a sizable amount when we look at the things that Nigerians need foreign exchange to do. So that actually will help in that area. But I think the overall strategy will be or should be to actually have more exports. So again, more value, added products and services, so that we are actually, exporting more than we are importing is part of what will have the overall effect of earning more foreign exchange than we are actually demanding. So that is something that I'm hoping will be a continuous trajectory in 2024, that there will be an increase in non-oil exports, which actually will also diversify the local economy and will put more people to work. That also will have a net positive effect of increasing revenue, across many industries. All of these things will be a net positive to that exchange rate.
Thank you very much. So one major issue and that has bedeviled the country in the last 60 years is the issue of corruption. Now we do have the anti-corruption bodies like the EFCC, the ICPC, we have the DSS, we have a few of them like that. So now in the last few months we've seen a few things, like the last minister for, I think, social welfare.
Petroleum?
Not petroleum, for social welfare. We saw that most of the money that was said to be given to vulnerable people, I think about 37 billion, was embezzled. And, we saw all this in the newspaper. We also see the issue with the central bank governor, about how these monies were misappropriated, and there are so many other corruption issue that have that has surfaced. So what should Nigeria be expecting this year? Should Nigeria be expecting an effective EFCC and ICPC and DSS, or should Nigeria be expecting the same old witch hunting? If you join my party, you are forgiven. If you join the other party, we chase you down. What should Nigeria be expecting? What do you think reasonably Nigeria should be expecting in 2024?
Yeah, so the issue of corruption is actually an important one, because I would actually label corruption as the number one biggest threat that Nigeria currently faces, because it affects all sectors and it affects the country's survival, to be quite frank. And it is something that the country should take seriously. I think if you look at, for example, some of the politicians that have been accused in some shape or fashion of corruption, one was the former petroleum minister, who is now asking for amnesty, even agreeing that she did embezzle quite a lot. I think, first and foremost, if Nigeria is very, very serious about combating crime, corruption, I would even say, maybe to start, put it at, or involving, 5 million, up to 5 million naira and above, to be punishable by death, is something I think that should send a strong message that corruption or any form of economic crime in that perspective is not going to be allowed. I think, to be very honest, it is always very difficult for a government to correctly police itself. I think what we've seen even in the last Buhari administration was the EFCC being used, against political opponents. I think the EFCC should be, at least maybe even at the board level, should be constituted in a very different way that will bring the right level of balance. I'm almost tempted to say that the head of the EFCC actually should be appointed by the opposition party, but I think in Nigeria it is probably it will be expected that if that is done, opposition parties also will focus only on elected officials, which I think will constitute people within the ruling party. But I think some balance can be found there. What is important is just not only to perform investigations, but to actually enforce the law. There have been several investigations that have been performed to which nothing has happened. There are investigations that we have expected, for example, that have not, nothing has happened. As an example, in the last administration, it was said that the United Arab Emirates actually gave the list of known financiers of terror, to government. Up to today, no names have been released. Nothing has happened. So this is where that level of independence is required to ensure that there is no influence peddling in who gets investigated and when they get investigated. That's when any form of evidence is presented that substantiates, any form of corruption, that the EFCC and the appropriate bodies perform the right level of investigation. We need to combat corruption because it is the number one biggest threat, in my opinion, to the existence of Nigeria as a federal republic.
Thank you very much, Japa. So my observation in the last 7 months is that we've seen a very active government, a government that is very active, very responsive, a government that seems to be very busy, going around trying to turn the economy around, putting all the, assembling a great team, putting all the right things in the right place. But from my assessment, one of the most important things or part of a government is agriculture, because if food prices are high, no matter what you put in the economy, no matter what you try to do, if people cannot feed themselves, if the price of food is so high that people spend all their money on food, or if they can't even afford to feed themselves, there will be a problem. Right now, from what I heard, it looked like a bag of rice is about 60,000 naira, while when the average salary of Nigeria is about 30,000. So even if you collect the whole of your salary, you still can't buy a bag of rice. And it says the same with, bread, with all the commodities. In fact, they're saying that to get one onion, albosa, is big price. But so far, I haven't seen any concrete agricultural policy from the government. I was expecting that, the government will possibly, send people into farms, or maybe create new farms or create extension, I mean, Buhari did a lot of rice farming and, things when it was in the last 8 years. I haven't seen any concrete agricultural policy that seems to go towards, creating more wealth through farming and agriculture, pushing more people into agriculture. So, reasonably, in the next this year, should Nigeria be expecting food to come down without any concrete, agricultural plan?
Well, agriculture is a very, very important area, and you've mentioned for all the right reasons. I think one important thing about agriculture, which President Tinubu actually mentioned quite a lot in his New Year address, is that agriculture is one of those that is very dependent on security. people are not going to stay in farm settlements or on their farms if there is no security within the country. Let's be honest. The issue of agriculture is one that has been bedeviled with the recent spate of insecurity in the country, from terrorism to banditry and all that. Even with issues pertaining to the to the Fulani herdsmen. Farm settlements, I think, were very successful in the 60s. I think we should go back to it. Again, that it will play into the strategy of growing non-oil exports, because anything that we grow and that we can process locally is one additional thing that we need, that we will not need foreign exchange to import. So it will stimulate the local economy. And if we're able to actually produce to a level where we have enough to export, we can also earn, foreign exchange from it. However, to answer your question precisely, I don't anticipate that agriculture will move much further than its current state in 2024 unless the issue of security is significantly addressed. That, in my opinion, is the single biggest threat to whatever policy that we are putting together for agriculture to take off, to ensure that we can not only feed ourselves, but we have enough to actually export as well to earn foreign revenue.
Okay, Shukwa. So now you've mentioned security. I was going to go to security, but before I jump on security, my thinking is that if we create farm settlement, for example, the normal foodstuff like pepper, like onion, like tomato, if we have large farm and we can produce this, we have about 120 million unemployed people. If we can create this farm settlement and plant this stuff in plenty, if we can do that, if we flood the market with tomato, flood the market with pepper, flood the market with albosa, flood the market with vegetables, flood the market with all the, we are producing enough cassava. When people can eat, people can buy food very cheap and they are not hungry, it reduces the tension. So now you've mentioned the issue of security. On Christmas Day, we saw what happened in Plateau State, where about 195 people were butchered, during that Christmas week. And it's still continuing. We still have a lot of skirmishes in Zamfara State, in Sokoto State, even in Niger State. Skirmishes, we still have that there. So I don't understand why the president is shying away from state police, because I think that we cannot continue to do the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. Our soldiers are still, our military, they're still doing the same thing. They react instead of planning. So when they hear that there's an attack here, they rush there to quell it. Once they think they've quelled it, they withdraw, go somewhere else. We need a permanent presence. There should be no ungoverned space in Nigeria. All those forests where all these bandits are hiding, this forest should be occupied. And the federal government cannot police 36 states. So should Nigeria this year be expecting this government, this APC government, this Tinubu's government to deal decisively to secure Nigeria? Say maybe by talking about state police, or maybe actually looking at the whole structure. Should we be expecting the government to talk about restructuring this year? Sure.
Thank you so much. So I think you mentioned two very big items together, which I think are actually very linked, which is the issue of restructuring, because there is actually a place for local communities to enforce law and order and maintain security of life and property. There is also a place for the federal government, and I will start with that. What I haven't seen so far, I mean, when we look back at what happened in Plateau State, I'm not surprised that those things are still happening. And the reason I say that is because there is nothing that the government has put forward. There is no plan that shows what they would do differently. The current national strategy to combating banditry and all these things is a reactive one. It's very reactive. Communities are attacked, they quickly call the security agencies, and then they try and mobilize forces. That is all we are doing. The strategy is not proactive. And what do I mean by that? Okay, for example, if you have a proactive strategy, it should first of all start by controlling your borders. Who can enter into your country? What can they bring with them? There is a YouTube channel of a Dutch lady chronicling her journey across West Africa, crossing from one country to another on her bike. And if you watch some of her videos, a lot of the borders are not manned by any government. In fact, in some of the places, they are manned by local people from the communities with, maybe trees that they cut, there is no government presence in any of those communities. And a lot of those borders are very porous for smuggling, porous for bandits, with weapons and all of those things to come into those communities. So the government, first and foremost, has to take a harder stance, has to put more boots on the ground to monitor those communities, man those borders, and ensure that they have a firm control over who's coming in and who's going out and what they are bringing and taking with them. That's the first thing. A proactive strategy, for example, in addition with tightening the borders, should comb all existing forests. All existing forests in the country should be combed and searched for bandits. That is an activity that should be done, and it should be done from north going south, from south going north, from east going west, from west going east, all at the same time. That is how you search, all of the existing bandits, even if they are not there. If there are people who come in, do their banditry, and then they melt into the local population, you will find their hiding spots. You will find their materials. You can trail them going forward. In addition to that, a proactive security strategy should include surveillance done daily using drones. So when bandits are amassing and are coming to attack communities, if you are performing the right level of surveillance, you can see them. You can notify the appropriate security agencies to intercept them before they get to those communities. In addition to that, you can, there's so many infrastructure. You can partner with, with the cell phone companies to actually monitor cell towers to see, you can use cell triangulation to actually figure out, where, potential threats may be coming. In addition to monitoring social media and all of these things, for any indicators of potential activities. There is no plan from the existing government to do any of those things. So what is going to happen? Communities will continue to get attacked. If they can, they will marshal, and then they will keep offering prayers and go visit communities. We are at a point in time where a lot of the people that are running these agencies, to be very honest, are out of ideas. So personally, until we see a change in the strategy, I do not personally anticipate that the security challenge is going to get better.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That is one thing. Very quickly to add to it, you mentioned the issue of state police. Okay, well, state police may be able to, again, without having a proactive policy, it does nothing but basically respond when it is almost likely too late. Someone I suggested, for example, having Inspector General of Police selected from or deployed to their respective states, that there is going to be a better stake in ensuring the safety of their people. And if the police within the states, the Inspector General of Police within the states cannot protect their own people, then they are answerable, to their communities. Maybe that might be a good step in the right direction. But I think it has to be a combined effort where the federal government is performing its own responsibilities, the states are performing their own responsibilities, and overall, the approach and the strategy is a more proactive one, not a docile, ineffective, and reactive one.
Anyway, Shupo, what I think is that Nigeria is a federation. This is the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Every state should have their police. That's the way it should be. Why are they afraid of allowing states to have their police? What is in there? Why does the federal government want to hold all the power? Why? The same thing, they are holding on to resources of these states. So a state will have gold like in Zamfara, like in Osun. They can't mine it. If you want to mine gold in Osun, if you see gold in your background, in your backyard, you have to go and get a license in Abuja. So I think it's high time for us to talk about restructuring. This is the time to talk about it now. And let's have this different state police their people. The state governors, I think they collect about, 500 million every month as security votes. And they don't, there's no account for this money. If they employ 10,000 people as police, they can give them 50,000 each every month. And they can send these people into the forest, send them onto the street to gather information. It will change everything. So I don't believe in the federal government. I don't believe in the federal government sending Nigerian police to their own states to go and police their own state. If it's federal, it's federal. It should be able to be posted everywhere. Allow the states to have their own police. It's that simple. And I think it's something the president, we can start the restructuring from there. This is something that needs to be done. The president needs to say it to to Akpabio and to the House of Rep Speaker. And this is something they can do within 1 month. Allow, Plateau State, for example, if the Plateau State governor can have their own police to go into the forest, I can tell you they will fish out all those bandits. And even now, after fishing them out, this police, this state, this people, they will stay in the forest. They will stay. They will police the Unka cranny of the state, and this will be how long will you continue to say 195 people died? Yeah, you go there to go and commensurate with them, or to say, oh, we are sorry, we'll do this. We've had that in the last 20 years, and these people are being yeah.
I don't disagree with you actually, but and I think there's definitely a place for state police. I think restructuring actually will address a lot of the challenges that we're facing with security. There is no question about that. Part of what needs to be done, with the issue of state police in the restructuring, will include potential, within each of the states, having a structure that is set up where, the local law enforcement can actually take ownership of policing their communities and have more of a community form of policing. I think that actually will also address, bribery and any of these other, things that are typically rampant, within the current police force. However, I also still believe that there are certain things that only the federal government can do. States can collaborate. For example, if I'm a state police in one state, I can man my state. But if you are, for example, chasing after bandits, once they cross into another state, that becomes another state police issue, and then state police can kind of collaborate, amongst each other that share borders, to share intelligence and share information and all that. Part of the challenge, I think, with doing state police, first and foremost, without actually restructuring. If you look at a recent report, I think it was done by Arise TV, on the viability of a lot of the states, only a handful of states are actually able to currently generate revenue to fund their programs beyond the allocation they get from the federal government. So I think I honestly don't think a state police thing can be done without restructuring on a larger scale. I think you actually have to restructure, in terms of giving states the ability to actually develop their own resources, which actually gives them the budget and the funding to be able to then, protect their own communities. There has to be a balance somewhere,
Yeah,
but those two things I think are very tightly,
I
connected.
do agree with you. Well, I think the problem in Nigeria is that we normally take things from top to bottom instead of trying to build from bottom to top. In Europe, I found out things stack from right from the bottom to top. It's only in Nigeria we take everything from, somebody just wake up one day and he has not become a councillor, he want to become a president. That's the way we operate. But here, you have to prove yourself. You have to come from the ladder. And then once you get into a level, you become visible. So, for example, talking about the state police, every state, if a state can afford to have 500 policemen, then they employ 500. If a state like Lagos can employ 100,000, they employ 100,000. So if a state like Osun doesn't have money, if they can maybe employ only 500 or 1,000 people, they employ them, and then they put them in trouble spots. And if there's small trouble, they might have to go to the community and say, listen, we need money. They raise money from the communities, and then they employ more people. For example, when a state tells me that they don't have money to pay their civil service, that is because they are not supposed to have as many people. If you have a civil service of 1,000 people, you can't pay them. It's because you are employing too many people than you can pay. So you downsize to your level. Because Lagos State has 1,000 people, doesn't mean Osun State will have 1,000. Osun State can only have 50 people if they can have 50 people. And the people in your civil service, they are supposed to be working to make money for the, to raise their salary, not for the government to be going to beg to borrow money from the bank or to go to Abuja to pay them. They are the one who are supposed to sit. For example, in most developed societies, the police, they get their salary when they go out. If you do anything, they give you a ticket. And that's where their money comes from. And all these tickets they go out, they give out, it comes back to them. That's where they draw their salary. But in Nigeria, they don't give any ticket. They just charge you and put the money in, they collect bribe. At the end of the day, they will still be expecting salary that will come from Abuja. So if every state wants to develop their own police, they can start from scratch. You can start from 10 people. 10 people in this, if there's a problem in maybe in Lobu in Osun State, you can put 10 people there. You can ask, you can tell they can start. That's why you have this vigilante. You can put all this vigilante together. You start from there. You raise money from the community. Then you develop your policing system. So that policing system in Osun State will be different from policing system in Zamfara, different from that one in Borno. That's the way
Well,
things should be.
yeah. Actually, what I think, and this, I'm very happy actually you mentioned this, is that where the federal government should come in is to draw standards that will be applicable across board. Because once you start having different policing systems, then that also creates its own challenge. But yeah, I do agree with you. If the number of policemen needed is going to vary, across. And then maybe states that have borders with other countries can rely on federal government to support, maybe from the customs and border services, for example, in policing certain parts of their state that kind of falls so-called within federal jurisdiction. So I think, should we expect restructuring in 2024? This was mentioned. It was some of the things that we expected that would be implemented from the Buhari administration. It was never done. I am surprised why the 7 months into Tinubu's administration, nobody seems to be talking about it. But I strongly believe, as you've said, that restructuring is very critical to dealing with a lot of the problems and the challenges that we have today. Even in resource development, have permits issued locally, have companies, given licenses locally. When they collect and when they declare their profits, the state will take a part of it to fund the state and also take a part of it towards the federal allocation. That is the way it should work from bottom up.
Okay, so the final issue I want us to touch on is the Japa Syndrome. In 2023, it's a big issue. Most of the doctors, the nurses, IT guys, banking officials, everybody left. Everybody left. So it's a big problem because you go to the hospitals now, the buildings are there, but it's all empty. No nurse, no doctor. Even the pharmacists are leaving. So, and a lot of people think that when you go abroad, it's a bed of roses, that the grass is greener. But should Nigeria be expected? Because I would like to tell Nigerians, if you have a job in Nigeria, don't japa. If you have a job that you are doing, you are working in a bank, you are a teacher, you're working in a farm. Even if you have 1 million or just 1 million naira, set up a farm. Don't go and use 40 million naira to go and get a visa to come to Canada or to come to UK or to go to America. So there's no greener pasture. Most of us who came away 20 years ago, some of us came to study, we got used to the environment. It's not like I didn't sell my house to come abroad. A lot of people are now selling their petrol station, they're selling their house, people are selling their cars. If you have money in Nigeria, invest it, don't Japa. So will this year be another Japa year? Is that your expectation?
Unfortunately, that is my expectation. As a matter of fact, I think it is the reason why most Nigerians are leaving is not because there aren't opportunities in Nigeria mostly. Of those, I could also argue that there really aren't, because lots of people, have no jobs, and even the ones that have jobs are not, paid very well. It is an expression of their dissatisfaction with the current state of the country, particularly insecurity. Look, why will someone sell their property to live to another country? Probably because they feel they're going to be safer. The future of their children is better guaranteed because there's better education and there are more equal opportunities. They are also leaving because the property that they have in Nigeria could be, could be destroyed, could be, so many things can happen. I think if you look at what's happening in Lagos, for example, with houses being demolished, the recent one is the computer village. Just like that. So we are dealing with a society where elected officials may sometimes, use their powers in not so positive ways. If you happen to be an opposition or be perceived to be an opposition, you could see an entire business wiped out just in, the next day due to policies that weren't properly thought through. So lots of reasons. So you'll find that people are leaving because they would rather take a menial job in a country where there's safety, there's security, and guess what? If they work hard, they can, they have a better future. There's better health care. Their children are guaranteed a much brighter future than the one that they had in Nigeria. So these are the reasons. So I think if you want people to stay in Nigeria, it even starts with the way you treat Nigerians. There's so much police brutality. There is, scenarios where people's rights are being tramped on day to day. As a matter of fact, when foreign countries came to hire, for example, Nigerian doctors, the comments that you hear from government officials who are supposed to be negotiating or putting policies in place, to attract and make these people stay, was that we turn them out every year. So when even your own ministers and your own government doesn't value your contribution, why should you stay in such country? This is the problem that we are facing, and unfortunately, I foresee people leaving the country even in bigger droves. People who have an opportunity, where there are shortages in other countries, where they think they have enough experience and their work and contributions can be better valued. I think a lot of people will leave Nigeria, unfortunately, in 2024.
Thank you very much. I've come to the end of this deliberation, and I want to use this opportunity to advise the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We know that you've talked about restructuring before, and we don't want you to wait until the next election to talk about restructuring. Let us talk about restructuring now. Restructuring is good for Nigeria. It means that every part of the country will compete with each other to develop and to take the country to the next level. The federal government has too much on its plate. Power needs to be decentralized. There ought to be fiscal federalism. People should be allowed, to develop at their own pace. So we think this is the best time, to unbundle Nigeria, to allow freedom. Nigeria is a federal state. Nigeria started that as on a confederacy. When you have the Western region, the Eastern region, and all that, we have to go back to that confederacy. You can't use a foundation that was made for a 3-story building and then convert it into 36-story building. There's going to be a problem. So we know that there was this 2014 confab, which is on the table of the president. We should please have a look at it and let us implement what is in there. If we need to discuss it again, let us discuss it more. I am advising this government, please let us talk about restructuring. And that's where we are today. Shupo, just 1 minute. Do you have any advice for the president?
Yes, so I think 2024 offers an opportunity like any other year. Nigerians are suffering. People are actually complaining. They are hungry. There are no opportunities. They don't feel safe. The problems are complex and multifaceted. I think this administration needs to come forward, show itself as being more humane, and communicate more with Nigerians to carry Nigerians along with what they are doing, set the right expectations, and let Nigerians hold you accountable.
Thank you very much. So again, we come to the end of today's deliberation. I want to thank you for viewing this telecast. And if you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscription button. It is free of charge. We're going to see you again on Sunday. And until then, we say thank you and goodbye.